The desperate call. Robyn sat quietly at the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the unread bills scattered across her dresser as the Arizona sun set low over Flagstaff. The mortgage is past due. Dangers to utilities. The tax notice. Everything was building up, and Kody, well, he was pacing downstairs in a rage and panic, as though walking quickly would somehow make the hole they were in disappear. They had nothing at all. They were living out the internet rumors. Robyn's jewelry store was in ruins. Kody's business affairs had fallen apart, and the TLC checks had shrunk to a fraction of their former size. Even worse, the public's opinion had shifted against them. They had become reality TV outcasts after becoming pioneers of polygamy. Robyn said, "I don't want to do this." Her eyes were full of tears, and her voice broke. "But there isn't anything else we can do." Kody's jaw tightened. Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. "This is something Meri owes us," he snarled. "She owns the B&B. She makes money from her getaways, and she is no longer required to share it with anybody. She is indebted to this family. Family. Since Christine first walked, followed by Janelle and Meri, that word had not been real for years. The one big happy was reduced to rubble and bitterness. Nevertheless, Robyn took out her phone grudgingly. She lingered on the name Meri Brown as she browsed through the contact list. The call button was tapped by her. Meri's answer, in the crisp air and serene warmth of the mountains. Meri Brown stood in the living room of her Parowan, Utah bed and breakfast. It had been a successful business. Women from all across the nation came to hear her tale of survival and resilience as her retreats gained popularity. After years of emotional exile, she had at last found serenity. The telephone rang. Before she saw the name, she nearly ignored it. Robyn Brown. A coldness descended upon her. It had been about a year since she last had a direct conversation with Robyn or Kody. Not since she left on her own. Not since she took back her honor. "Interesting," she replied. Robyn's voice was forced and unsteady as she said, "Hey, Meri." A pause. "Kody is also here," she hurriedly added. "We need to talk," I said. Meri felt a knot in her stomach. "What are you talking about?" Robyn whispered. We're in a difficult spot. Monetarily. The house, debts, etc. We're going to drown." Kody then picked up the phone. "Meri," he said sharply and demandingly, his tone still retaining the old arrogance. "We were a family. This family provided you with decades of benefits. You have an obligation to assist us. We require funds. A loan. Only till things improve." Meri gave a sour laugh. It was sadness tinged with liberation, not cruelty. She said, "You want my help? After all that you two did? After you sent me out like if I were a bother? You abandoned me after I pleaded for scraps of emotional connection for years?" Robyn attempted to interrupt, saying, "We didn't mean..." Meri's voice, however, was suddenly distinct. "Be calm. Empowered. No. I will not assist you." They were silent for a long time. "Without you two, I created everything I have. Now that your ship is sinking, you don't get to return and request assistance." She hung up. Kody's breakdown long after the call was over. Kody stood motionless, the phone still to his ear. He had never thought Meri would actually cut the cord, so the rejection hurt more than just the money. The phone smashed against the wall as he hurled it across the room. "You are to blame," he yelled at Robyn. "You shoved her away. Like Janelle and Christine, you isolated her." Robyn recoiled from the charge and flinched. "You concurred with it," she retorted. "You picked me out. You allowed them to leave." Kody's face was buried in his hands. "I assumed she would be faithful. I believed Meri loved me." Robyn's voice trailed off, cold and quiet. "She did. You simply didn't return her love." For a long time, they sat in quiet while the reality of the empty house surrounding them struck in. It was too big, too costly, and too haunted by the ghosts of a family who had once lived there. Meri's power. Meri was back in Utah, gazing out her B&B window at the wind rustling through the trees. Power was something she had not experienced in years. Not resentment. Not retaliation. Just some clarity. She had been waiting for years for Kody and Robyn to notice her, pick her, and value her. However, She had at last come to the realization that she was the only one who needed to make the decision. She had to. Reaching her desk, she opened a journal. She made a note for her next retreat session in the corner. Public fallout begins. Word got out about Kody and Robyn's financial difficulties. Kody was spotted at a pawn shop, according to a leaked source, who may have been Robyn's own kids or even a neighbor. Robyn was thinking about selling her jewels. That Meri was even asked for assistance, but she turned them down. The internet took off. Critics who were once Sister Wives followers started complimenting Meri's strength. Reaction videos on YouTube and TikToks proliferated. Meri said no at last? Iconic. Karma is rapping on the door of Kody and Robyn's mansion. This is the result of years of mistreating people. Even the producers of TLC paid attention. A spin-off called Meri's Mountain Retreat was being discussed. It would center on her new life, her new friends, and the ladies she was assisting in their spiritual and emotional recovery. Kody and Robyn, meanwhile, had to observe from the sidelines as the final lifeline fell out of their grasp. Begging in the shadows, Robyn and Kody's enormous mansion was pressed against the windows by the thick morning air in Flagstaff, which they could no longer afford. With its cathedral ceilings and opulent fittings, the once proud house now reverberated with the low noises of desperation, the fridge almost empty, the underpaid heating humming wildly, and silence where children's laughter had previously filled the room. Amid piles of papers, including energy bills, IRS letters, last warnings from creditors, and foreclosure notices, Kody sat at the tall wood dining table. Robyn muttered, her voice raspy from restless nights, "We waited too long." "You mentioned that Meri would assist." Kody yelled, "I thought she would," but his tone was devoid of anger. He appeared to be defeated. "I never thought she would slam the door so forcefully." Robyn's red-rimmed eyes turned to him. Should the house be sold? Kody tensed. His last claim to family, prestige, and power had been that house. If he relinquished it, what would remain? Robyn responded on his behalf. "I called a realtor already." Meri's letter. Meri was shocked to see a hand-addressed note in her mailbox a few days later while sipping her coffee in the peaceful silence of her Utah retreat. There was a letter inside, a handwritten, unpolished plea rather than an official document or email. From Robyn, "Meri, I'm at a loss on what to do. I'm writing to you as a mother, not as a sister wife or someone who has wronged you. We're going to drown. The children are afraid. You didn't deserve what happened to you, and I'm not sure how we got here. I apologize. I ought to have defended you. I ought to have put up more of a fight. I feel bad about the way we handled you. But now I'm pleading. Not for me. For them. For the kids. Would you have the compassion to assist us? Alone. Anything. Only to ensure that we have a place to live." 3 times, Meri read the letter. She spent hours sitting with it. Then, with serene finality, she put it on the corner of her desk, folded it back into the envelope, and scrawled a single word on the reverse. Pawned in public a week later, an ugly picture of Kody Brown, pale and hunched, standing outside of Easy Pawn with an old briefcase and a jewelry box in his hands appeared on a local Flagstaff Facebook page. The caption said, "Can you guess who is making money out of old memories?" #reality collapse within hours. The post went viral. Both reviewers and fans plunged into a flurry of comments. "You abandoned the women who helped you establish your empire. Meri, Janelle, and Christine should have received better treatment. Robyn's dream of living in a mansion is officially over." Even previous cast members of Sister Wives started to respond in a subtle way. Janelle captioned a mysterious Instagram story she shared of herself trekking a mountain trail. "When you let go of other people's illusions, your burdens become lighter." Christine posted a laughing selfie while enjoying tea on her Utah porch. "Peace is invaluable." The TLC ultimatum. TLC officials were listening intently behind the scenes. As viewers became weary of Kody and Robyn's mayhem, ratings had declined in recent seasons. However, it was a self-written drama. They arranged to speak with Robyn and Kody over the phone. The network executive calmly announced over Zoom, "Kody, we have approved a new Sister Wives special." Robyn's eyes glowed with optimism. "A story of redemption? No, not precisely. The Last Wife Standing is what we're calling it." Robyn blinked. "It has to do with Meri." her withdrawal, her recuperation, her post-you life. In subsequent episodes, Christine and Janelle will be invited. Kody became enraged. "Are you deleting me?" The executive didn't recoil. "You deleted yourself." Reckoning, Robyn was sobbing quietly in the other room as Kody sat by himself in the dark that night. The home was quiet. His whole empire was in ruins. The women had left. The funds had vanished. He was being left behind by the cameras. Reaching for his phone, he gazed at Meri's number. He had one last request. He wanted to send a voice memo. Instead, though, he erased the contact. Meri, meantime, stood in front of a group of women at her retreat in Utah. She shared her story of years of rejection, suffering, and quiet. Then came the day when she ultimately made her own decision. She murmured softly, "You begin to hear the voice that always has your own, when you stop chasing people who never chose you." Cheers. Tears. Restoring. Meri had discovered her strength. What about Kody? All that remained for him was the quiet of a house of illusion. A house split. The atmosphere in Robyn's mansion was oppressive, not subtle, since it was late in the evening in Flagstaff. Once resonating with children's banter and a last-ditch effort to keep up appearances, the house now resonated with emotional exhaustion and hollow silence. Amid documents that no longer made sense, Robyn sat at the kitchen table with red, puffy eyes. Statements of credit. A bank rejection. A notice to switch off utilities. A demand for property taxes. It had been almost 2 days since her last meal. The majority of her jewelry collection, which Kody had given her when they were young, had been pawned for pennies compared to its original value. With her phone in her hand and her arms folded, Aurora sat across the room. Concern, contempt, and something else that had started to blossom over the past few months were mixed together in her gaze as she observed her mother. The conflict. Aurora could no longer be silent. She said, almost too softly, "Why did you drag us into this?" Startled, Robyn looked up. Aurora repeated herself, her resistance weak this time. "What gave you the impression that everything would be all right? That this life, the mansion, your decisions, were all part of a plan?" Robyn blinked. "I was attempting to keep you safe, Aurora, my love. By keeping us apart from everyone?" Aurora lost her temper. "Mom, you did more than just keep us safe. Everything was under your control. Meri was unstable, as you told us. That Christine was self-centered. Janelle was unappreciative. However, now, I see it. Everyone was pushed away by you and Kody. And we're by ourselves now." Robyn's mouth quivered. "Avoid saying that. You're not aware of the sacrifices." "I understand," Aurora retorted. "I have been observing for many years. Everything was twisted by you. Before we had a chance to form our own opinions, you told us to choose a side." Robyn fell silent in shock. This was the first time her daughter had ever spoken to her in such a manner. Not even in the most trying adolescent years. "You misled us," Aurora muttered. "Kody was a weapon that you used. Furthermore, he is no longer even a father. He is merely a resentful man who stalks the house like a specter." The internet was rocked by the TikTok. Aurora did something unimaginable a few hours later. She went on the internet. She sat in her bedroom by herself, her phone camera pointing at her tear-streaked face. She said, "I'm not sure who should hear this, but sometimes your parents don't tell you the truth. In order to maintain power, the individuals who rear you can occasionally turn everyone else into an enemy. One day, you come to the realization that you were complicit in the deception." The internet was rocked by the TikTok. Aurora did something unimaginable a few hours later. She went on the internet. She sat in her bedroom by herself, her phone camera pointing at her tear-streaked face. She said, "I'm not sure who should hear this, but sometimes your parents don't tell you the truth. In order to maintain power, the individuals who rear you can occasionally turn everyone else into an enemy. One day, you come to the realization that you were complicit in the deception." To Christine, Janelle, and Meri, I apologize if you ever see this. I really apologize for the way things turned out. I took everything I was told at face value. But now I see you. I see everything. The video became viral in a matter of hours. It was shared on all platforms by Sister Wives watchers, fans, and reviewers. The comments came pouring in. "This is devastating. The cycle is being broken by her. Robyn's dominance is finally breaking down. The collapse of Robyn had just watched the movie and was standing in the hallway. She fell on the ground, sobbing violently as her knees gave way. She shoved Kody aside as he hurried over. Robyn exclaimed, "She turned against me. My daughter betrayed me." Kody averted his gaze. He lacked the strength to express his thoughts. "Because Robyn, you made this up. Both of us did." Robyn sobbed as she huddled up on the chilly tile, her cries resonating throughout the empty house that suddenly felt like a jail. Even her children could see the reality, and it had shattered all of her meticulous image building, manipulation, and keeping sweet. The unexpected call Meri received late into the night. Meri's phone buzzed in Utah. Aurora had sent a direct message on Instagram. "Hello, Meri. I understand that you're probably surprised, but I have to share something with you. Until recently, I was unaware of the true state of affairs. I'm aware of what they said about you, and I long held that belief. I only want to apologize. You weren't worthy of what transpired." Meri took a long look at the message before answering. "I appreciate you expressing that. To see the truth, one must have bravery. I wish you tranquility. You also deserve it." The start of the end news sources started to cover the topic after Aurora's video went viral. Daughter of sister wives speaks out, Robyn's house of lies revealed? When Kody Brown's daughter exposes manipulation, the family disintegrates. The public sympathy for Meri is growing as her redemption arc continues. Meri was called right away by TLC regarding a sit-down special. Janelle and Christine consented to show up. Without her mother there, Aurora even indicated that she would like to share her side of the story. Robyn, meantime, was lying in bed with the shades closed, the phone off, and a wedding picture that had lost all significance in her hands. TLC headquarters, approval of production, a small group of producers gazed at the screen that replayed Aurora's viral TikTok in a modern production boardroom at TLC headquarters in Los Angeles. No stage season could ever really convey the truth and pain in her face. Executive producer Vanessa McKenna leaned forward purposefully and declared, "This is it. The reckoning is here. We gather everyone, including Meri, Christine, Janelle, the older children, and even Aurora, and then we go on camera to face Kody and Robyn." She moved a folder with the title Sister Wives, The Reckoning, a one-night event, across the table. Approved. Accelerated. All the big media would be observing. A week later, the set with its neutral-toned couches, fireplace, and lamplight, the soundstage was intended to resemble a cozy family living room. However, the energy? Tense. Unforgiving. Not practiced. With her arms folded and her eyes alert, Christine sat erect in a plum blazer. Janelle had a calm strength and was dressed in forest green. Calm and collected, Meri exuded strength. Aurora sat next to Meri, clearly anxious yet determined. There was silence among the spectators. Julia Matheson, who is renowned for her uncompromising approach on reunion specials, took over as host. She looked at the curtain. "And now, joining us," Julia remarked seriously. "Robyn Brown and Kody." The curtain opened. Kody was the first to go, his face pressed into his face as he scanned the couches like a man approaching a hostile zone. He nodded at Meri, Janelle, and Christine, but none of them nodded back. Robyn trailed behind, looking pale and exhausted. She froze, looking at Aurora. Aurora didn't even give her a glance. On the other couch, they took a seat. "The first fire tonight isn't about scripted apologies," Julia said bluntly to start. "The truth is at issue. Years of it. Let's start with the question that everyone has. How did this family disintegrate so thoroughly?" Janelle was the first to speak. "Kody, you made a kingdom out of yourself," she remarked icily. "You anticipated unquestioning devotion. However, you gave it to just one woman. And you called it betrayal when we challenged you," Christine continued. "However, we were surviving you, not betraying you." Kody's mouth clenched. "You have no idea how difficult it was to..." Meri interjected. "Stop. Be calm." Managed. "Yes, Kody, we all understand. It was us that lived it. While you played home with Robyn, you disregarded, emotionally deserted, and rejected us." Robyn winced. The truth of Aurora. Julia looked at Aurora. Aurora, your Frank video recently became viral. Would you like to discuss it with your parents directly? Aurora took a deep breath. Mom. Dad. I apologize for the pain this will cause. However, I must state that you failed to defend us. Your version of the truth was safeguarded. You portrayed everyone in this place as evil. And in order to view the whole picture, I had to leave the house and observe events on my own. Her eyes filled with tears. You made sides. However, I was never able to select mine. I do now. She turned and grasped Meri's hand tenderly. The room went cold. Robyn burst into tears. I exerted every effort to keep the family together. No, Meri muttered. You made every effort to keep me out. Kody's disintegration. Kody didn't say anything until Julia asked him the question. Kody, it must be painful to see your kids choose integrity above allegiance. Are you accountable for any of this? Quiet. Christine bent over. Say it. Say that for once in your life. Kody snapped. I failed. He replied abruptly, his voice trembling. I was unsure about how to be fair. When Christine departed, I became frightened. When Janelle confronted me, I became enraged, and I treated Meri like a ghost. I left the rest of you behind and allowed Robyn to be my safe haven. I was really defending my ego. Even if I believed I was defending a family, there was a startled stillness in the studio. Kody hadn't uttered something that genuine in years. Robyn's on-camera collapse. Robyn wasn't prepared, though. She struck out. All of you betrayed me. You left the fallout on me. I became the antagonist because of you. The tension was broken by Christine's cold, deadly voice. No, Robyn. When you remained silent while we suffered, you turned yourself into the antagonist. When you hoarded money, affection, and attention, you turned yourself into the villain. And you saw Meri, the most devoted of us all, get thrown out like garbage. Slowly, Meri nodded. And now you're here pleading for pity while refusing to accept responsibility. Robyn collapsed into her own lap as she started to cry. Not even Kody consoled her. The last question. Julia asked the group one last straightforward question. What comes next? First to respond, Christine said, We live. We prosper. Not with Kody. Without Robyn. Janelle, we prioritize our children, maintaining our tranquility, and never turning back. Meri, we recover. We tell the truth. We also no longer mistake suffering for love. We break the cycle, said Aurora. What about Kody? He didn't respond. For the first time in Sister Wives history, he understood. His voice was no longer important. Millions of people watched. The most powerful reality television special in a decade, according to critics. And supporters felt it, not just cheered. Let us know in your comments. And stay tuned by subscribing our channel to get more updates like this. Thanks everyone.